Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report Under Lockdown. I'm John DeRola, and joining us, as she so often does on Tuesdays, Emma Vigeland. How's it going?
It's going well. I almost botched that intro by laughing too much. Twice?
No, I was just messing with you. I'm trying to get myself psyched up for the show. You were fine. You should see the things Brett says right before we go live. Anyway, very glad to have you here. I know you've been busily producing videos, and so you want to let people know what they can look forward to coming up on your channel?
Well, I mean, it's kind of more of the same of just commentary for right now, but there could be something coming on next Tuesday, primary night. I will turn off the vibrate on my phone so it stops making that noise.
Wait, so like, can you give us anything more? Is it something big?
I might be in the field for the first time in a really long time.
Where would you go on primary night? I wonder. Where would you attempt to have a second time of one of your great standout moments? Well, anyway, we'll have to see about that, and we'll be talking about that, maybe. I can't be specific. But anyway, that's awesome, and prepare yourself, because the Trump rallies they're about to begin. And so that means, Emma, we're going to need you to go out there at some point.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what I have to say about that. Yeah, I don't really need to walk into a giant COVID den, especially when I'm with my mom right now. So
that's a good point. Okay, well, everyone who is already joining us in the chat, thank you so much. Please hit the like button. It seems like a shockingly, insultingly low percentage of you have, but if you could correct that, that would be great. Emma thrives on likes. You should know that by now. And feel free to, share the stream, let people know that we're going. If you're watching this on Twitch, feel free to comment along. We'll be plucking some of those comments out, as well as on YouTube and Super Chats too. You can also use the hashtag TDRLive to talk along with us. We're going to be going
I'm like Tinkerbell, and I need likes to bring me back to life.
Exactly. She might collapse on camera.
Collapse, except likes, yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah. We got a lot that we're going to be working our way through. Feel free to let us know what you think about these stories. Let's jump right into it. I know that we've sort of agreed as a country that the pandemic's done. But you know what? Just for old time's sake, let's talk about it briefly. Because the president, who I don't know if he's talked about coronavirus much for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now. Like, once he was done with his briefings, he wasn't interested anymore. He did have something to say about it yesterday. And it's a point he's made a couple of times in the past, saying, if we stopped testing right now, we'd have very few cases, if any, he said. And I love that he said it at an event highlighting administration actions to help senior citizens, as he attempts to downplay and theoretically get us to stop doing the very minor bit that we're doing to protect senior citizens from dying from coronavirus. But it's an interesting point. If we stopped testing, we'd have very few cases. Emma, I don't see any holes in that logic. That makes sense to me. What do you think?
I saw one of the top replies to a Wall Street Journal reporter tweeting out that quote from the press pool that said, "If I close my eyes, it won't be sunny anymore." Why? We should just stop testing for cancer, and then we beat cancer. It's just... So he definitely got the talking point within Republican circles, within the administration, that, oh, now that we've had more testing, although we still lag behind many countries and have lagged behind many countries, now that we've gotten more testing, that's leading to it seeming like we have more cases of coronavirus, when that's not actually the case. It's just because we have more testing. But he botched it so badly that he said, if we stopped testing, we wouldn't have any cases, and then it would be solved. Bam! That doesn't make any sense. Mike Pence, apparently on a call with governors, was a little bit more articulate, as he tends to be, a little more slick in his speech when it comes to that talking point. But again, both are lying. One is just better at it.
Yeah, well, and let's also acknowledge that this is hardly the first time he's effectively said that sentence, that he seems to conflate the cases with, like, again, it sounds ridiculous to say, does he...
positive tests.
Well, like, as if you didn't test, it wouldn't happen. It seems like you have Trump derangement syndrome to say that. But when he says these sentences over and over again, that's why so many people replied, like, he's like an infant. He doesn't grasp the concept of object permanence. Like, as soon as it's out of his field of view, it doesn't exist anymore. And that, of course, is not how it works. Now, in terms of, let's clean it all up, this new Republican talking point, that the only reason cases seem to be going up is because we're doing more testing. And I understand a lot of people believe that. There might be people commenting along right now. We're going to respond to that, and I would say rebut it in a couple of different ways. But I just want to briefly mention, I sort of jokingly in the intro, said that the president has moved on from this. But let's just acknowledge 118 or so thousand people have confirmed died from coronavirus, as well as God knows how many others. And the president, who has done as little as possible along the way, really does seem to not give a damn at all. What do you see him doing? He's not even doing the hydroxychloroquine stuff where he's wasting our time, but at least he's ostensibly focused on the pandemic. He's not even doing that. There is effectively, whatever your mayor and governor are doing, that's the best that you can hope for right now. And cross your fingers and hope that the vaccine comes quickly, because the president has moved on. He doesn't care. He doesn't seem to care about much these days, but he certainly doesn't care about a pandemic that is still racking up hundreds of American dead on a daily basis.
He doesn't care because it's inconvenient for his marketing, which is everything that personifies him. He's just a marketing campaign for Trump Incorporated, and there's no substantive action behind it beyond how he wants it to be perceived. So he wants people to believe that the pandemic is over, that he's done a really good job. Mm-hmm. So he will act as though the pandemic is over and he's done a really good job. And that's everything you need to know about the president of the United States, is that the actions that he takes, there is nothing really substantive behind them. It's just about how he appears to the American people. He's smoke and mirrors, but he's not particularly deft at it. And we're seeing the reaction to that in the polls.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will say he tried to, like you said, he had a sort of bumbling sort of version of this talking point. He tried to clean it up a little bit, although I'm not sure that this is much better, with his tweet saying, "Our testing is so much bigger and more advanced than any other country. We have done a great job on this, that it shows more cases. Without testing or weak testing, we would be showing almost no cases. Testing is a double-edged sword, makes us look bad, but good to have." So that's good that he acknowledges that we should be testing for a fatal illness. No, if we weren't doing the testing, we would still have dead turning up. We'd still have people hospitalized over this. It's just so stupid endlessly and so costly. I'm sure Emma and I, we could go back and forth naming Trump stupid comments or various exploits of idiocy that didn't have much of a cost, but this one 100% does. A historic cost. We are going to be looking back on this pandemic for the rest of our lives. And we, like many people, eventually it'll be history. And we'll have some vague memories of what happened. But we lived through it, and we reported through it. And we're going to know that he went from denying that it was a thing to weirdly bumbling through the beginning and snake oil salesman trying to push quick fixes on people, to eventually just not even caring while the pandemic continued. That is the living history of one of the darkest moments of recent American history.
And attempting to, again, be that Trump Incorporated marketer by continuing to host campaign rallies, or beginning to host campaign rallies again, which is a whole part of the pretending like the pandemic is over. Again, people keep talking about the second wave and are acting like, oh, this is the second. No, this is still the first wave. It's just increasing in states that didn't take social distancing seriously and didn't take shutting down the economy to the extent that it needed to, like Florida and Arizona and other states. So while New York, California, states run by people, I despise Andrew Cuomo, but are at least somewhat competent, they're seeing cases go down. People were abiding by social distancing. That's really what is driving the very shallow decline in the national case curve, which is very different from what we saw in countries like Italy, Spain, Germany, etc., that dealt with their pandemics in an actually comprehensive, competent way. And that falls at the foot of leadership, aka Donald Trump.
Exactly. I want to respond to the new talking point that the right has rolled out and that a lot of people have picked up, perhaps because it makes them feel more comfortable in a dangerous, scary time. And that is that Although we are seeing rising case counts in a number of different states, the only reason we're seeing that is because we're doing more testing. You do more testing, you'll find more positive cases, which sort of makes sense. It seems like common sense. But that does not mean that we are not in a dangerous and worsening situation. It does not mean that we're not perhaps on the cusp of a second spike. And I want to show you a couple of reasons that I believe that. Now, indeed, if you just look nationally, there has been some good news. If you take a look at this, you see the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, and the West, the percent positive tests going down. That is a good thing, and it's happening while we're doing more and more tests. That is certainly positive news. But here are the issues. If it was the case that simply doing more cases doing more tests results in more cases, then that should be true relatively uniformly across the country, and that is not at all what we're seeing. In recent days, roughly over the last week or so, I've seen numbers indicating that less than 10% of new cases are now coming from states in the Northeast, which is one of the regions hardest hits initially during the first wave of coronavirus. But that is not what we're seeing in some parts of the country. If you take a look at this, you can see Texas and Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Arkansas, and you can see that their daily positives are going up, but also their hospitalizations in some cases are skyrocketing. Texas is breaking records on a daily basis, and it's not breaking hospitalization records because they're doing more tests. It's breaking those records because more people are being hospitalized. That is not just a product of identifying more cases. It's not like people were on the cusp of their lungs failing, but they weren't going to do anything about it until their test came back. No, these are people who are getting viciously, violently ill. This is not just testing. This is indeed a rise in cases in certain parts of the country that have taken it less seriously and that reopened earlier. Texas is certainly one of those cases. They reopened well over a month ago. And what do you know? Hospitalizations. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Darola. I'll see you soon.